Welcome back, Leominsterites, to the October episode of Representing Leominster. I'm your state representative, Natalie Higgins, and I am so thrilled to be joined with some representatives and friends from Ginny's Helping Hand, Sue Chalifoux Zephir and Brandon Robbins. And with the holidays upon us, we really wanted to highlight the work that Ginny's is doing and just talk a little bit more about how you both got involved with Ginny's and kind of what Ginny's is for folks who aren't familiar with it and how people can get involved. So, Sue, could you give me a little background about how you and your family got involved with Ginny's?
Absolutely. No, I sure can. Thanks, Natalie, for having us on. Ginny's, so Ginny White, legendary Ginny White, started Ginny's over 30 years ago. And over the course of those years, my mother used to volunteer there. My husband, Ed, used to volunteer at Ginny's, and I did as well. So I worked very, very closely with Ginny several years back. It's hard to believe she's been gone 6 years. She's been gone 6. She retired in 2013. But anyway, so I got initially got involved as a volunteer and got more and more involved as Ginny was winding down. She knew that she wanted to retire and had an exit strategy. So then in 2013, when Ginny decided to retire, my husband Ed and I, we took it over. We took the food pantry and the thrift store over.
And Brandon, when did you start getting involved with Ginny's?
So I met Sue as I was graduating high school, and this was close to the time she was taking it over as well. And I had the opportunity of getting involved as a volunteer first at Ginny's, helping Sue and everybody over there at the time in the food pantry.
And can you explain to me a little bit, for folks who haven't been to Ginny's before, kind of what's in Ginny's, how does the thrift shop work with the food pantry? Like how do those pieces work together?
Well, we're primarily a food pantry. We're a nonprofit organization, a 501c3 for people in the nonprofit world. And we have a thrift store. So we're all a nonprofit. We're a partner with the Worcester County Food Bank. So all of the food, most of the food, the vast majority, 95% of it is donated. So we get most of it from the Worcester County Food Bank. We're a partner with them. And then we have local partners, the two Hannaford markets, Target, BJ's, Utz Potato Chips, and I think that's about it. And so that's where we get our food. And then local organizations, a lot of local organizations, a lot of schools, they do food drives for us. Churches do food drives for us.
And then the Stamping Out Hunger, the post office also does a food drive, right?
Huge
food drive. That's so important because it kind of is offset outside the holiday season, which is still an important time. You know, we need help all year round, not just during the holiday season.
Right. And then in terms of the thrift store, so people donate gently used items, mostly clothing. We get a lot of household items, and we sell those at very inexpensive prices. And that's the operating revenue from that is what supports our operation. We have a very small staff. Brandon's one of our staff, Selena Salvatelli, Myra Diaz, and Joan Mercier. So that's our little team, but the sales from the thrift store support our operation. They keep our lights on, they keep our staff paid. So that's how the two parts of it work together.
And do you have specific times that people can drop off donations or?
Yeah, so that's really important. We ask that people don't drop off donations when we're not open. That leads to a variety of things happening, people going through stuff and taking them, the weather kind of affecting what you've left outside. So anytime we're open is a perfect time to leave donations, Tuesday through Friday, 10 to 5, and Saturdays, 9 to 4.
Okay, perfect. And for folks who are in need of some food assistance and want to access the food pantry, how do you have to be a Leominster resident? Can you be a neighboring resident? What do they need to be able to access the food pantry?
We feed people from across the region, from as far west as Hubbardston, to Acton, really. And if you want to talk about the details, what people need to bring in.
Yeah, of course. So like Sue said, there is no limit on who will serve. Like she said, we have served people from across Massachusetts. If you're willing to make the drive to us because you need that help, we're there to help you. Specifically, when you come in for your first time, we ask for a photo ID and a piece of mail just to verify your address. We definitely make, changes if that is needed for some reason, if somebody can't provide those things. But to get started, those are the things you need. When you come in, you'll go home most likely with 2 or 3 bags, one containing dried products, the staples that you use in your house, frozen meats that come from those partners like the Worcester County Food Bank and Hannaford's, and a great bag of fresh produce as well that is often from the Worcester County Food Bank or the Hannaford markets as well.
I just wanted to add one thing. We ask people when they come in to give us a piece of mail, and we report statistics monthly to the Worcester County Food Bank because we participate in both the Massachusetts and then the USDA program, which is where the food comes from. So we're not reporting on any specific individual, but the Worcester County Food Bank keeps track by zip code of the people that we're helping across the region. So that's really why we ask people to bring in a piece of mail, is really just to capture their zip code.
Absolutely. And we know how important it is to make sure that we have these services. And right, the data collection is a part of making sure that we can show that there is a need in our community. Unfortunately, it's a really great need. And I know, have you been partnering a little more with the Spanish American Center, because they also have their own like food pantry, but they also have the kitchen?
They do. We have partnered with the Spanish American Center. We're very close with the Spanish American Center. We partner with them almost on a daily basis. I had initially gotten a grant from the United Way to set up the soup kitchen a few years ago, and we were partnering with them. We were providing the food and also providing a lot of the staff to manage that. We did that for about 2 years, and then we pulled back and just turned it over to the Spanish American Center. So they continue with the soup kitchen, and they do have that beautiful kitchen. But we also get things, for example, yesterday, we got a lot of milk from the Spanish American Center.
Yeah, so we work very closely with the Spanish American Center, like Sue was saying, providing food still
for the
to help with that soup kitchen, because there are oftentimes large quantity of things we can't use, and sometimes they get large quantities of things like the milk we got from them yesterday that they can't necessarily give out, but we can use for our clients. So we are very close with the Spanish American Center.
And for folks thinking about donating food, what are you looking for? Like, what do you really need? I'm sure that you get a lot of things that maybe you stock up on a little too much.
Well, it's seasonal. Right now we're very fortunate because we get a lot of fresh produce. We get a lot of fresh produce from the Worcester County Food Bank. We get it from the local farm stands. So as that tapers off, as we get later into the fall and into the wintertime, if people wanted to donate fresh vegetables if they were shopping, or what has also been really helpful are supermarket gift cards, because then whatever we need, whatever we're short on, we can just go to any one of the local markets and pick up what we need.
Additionally, we're working on our holiday baskets right now, both for Christmas and Thanksgiving. So anything that is a staple that you would consider for a Christmas meal or a Thanksgiving meal, mashed potatoes, butter, rolls, all that kind of stuff is stuff we want people to have in those baskets. So that right now, that's what's really helpful.
Yeah. And then also turkeys. We get an allocation from the Worcester County Food Bank. I think we're getting 90 or over 90 turkeys this year from the Worcester County Food Bank, but we give out close to 300 baskets.
That's going to be my question, is how many are you giving out?
Last year for Thanksgiving, we gave out 273 baskets.
Wow.
And for Christmas, 285.
Right.
So I expect it to be a little bit higher this year.
Absolutely. And if someone wants to donate a turkey, what's the best way to go about doing that? I imagine you don't have tons of freezer and fridge space.
We do.
So
We
definitely do.
We definitely do. No, the last few years, what we've focused on is expanding our capacity to store food. And this year, I was fortunate to get a grant from the Community Foundation, and we have a beautiful, huge commercial refrigerator.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's been fantastic because we store all of our fresh produce in there, so we can keep it longer, it goes further. We can help more people, so that's been a huge, huge help. But we do, Natalie, to answer your question about freezer space, it gets tight during the holidays because turkeys take up a lot of space. But we do. We have 8 freezers? I think at least 8, and they're all relatively new. We just have one that we're looking to swap out because that's what we've been doing, is replacing equipment. As grant monies become available, as people donate items. So yeah, no, we'll make the space. We'll find the space.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And for folks who want to maybe more intentionally volunteer, more regularly volunteer, what kind of help do you need down at Ginny's?
We need all kinds of help.
Yeah.
we have three basic kind of components. We have the back of the house with Joan Mercier, very capably manages. She's fantastic. And that's when clothing comes in, it goes out back, and it's sorted, you know, things that we can sell and put out front. And if there are things that are ripped or missing buttons or things that we can't sell in the store, we will bag those up and put them out in our Planet Aid boxes. And that generates revenue for us. Everything that Planet Aid picks up, we get paid for.
That's awesome.
It is. It's wonderful. So so there's back of the house with Joan and sorting clothing and organizing that, which is a huge, huge job.
Yep.
And then you want to talk about the food pantry?
Yeah, so our food pantry operation is another huge piece of what we do, the most important in my opinion. So that includes, we have to stock the shelves, we have to, you know, we make all of the dried product bags ahead of time so that they're ready when people show up. So that's another thing that people can be doing. We make up produce bags with that fresh produce. So that's another huge part of what we do that we are always looking for help with.
We also do pickups at the Worcester County Food Bank. We bring thousands of pounds, 4, 5, 6,000 pounds of food back in our truck. So if people wanted to, you know, come twice a month and go with us to the Worcester County Food Bank, that would be something that is a huge help just because of the volume of stuff that we're picking up.
Awesome. And how do they get a hold of you? Like, where are you located? What's your number?
So there's a variety of ways. You can obviously give us a call, 978-537-1387. Send us an email, ginny'shelpinghands with an S at gmail.com. Facebook, definitely on Facebook, Ginny's Helping Hand.
I think, Brandon, you run most of the Facebook operations.
I do run most of the Facebook operations. Ask for me when you call. Stop in and visit us as well. I love showing people around, you know, before they come in to volunteer, so they have an idea of what we do, to see if it's something they're really interested in doing. And on our website, we also have a place where you can sign up to volunteer as well.
Yeah, I would love to talk a little bit, because we still have some time, about there's some proposed changes at the federal level that could really negatively impact Massachusetts families that I'm worried about, that we expand kind of who's eligible for SNAP benefits. And remember, SNAP is Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, so it's not all of your food. It's just to supplement your income and the food that you have. And one of my worries is, if these new changes go through, that Ginny, Spanish American Center, Catholic Charities, all of the folks that offer the food pantries are going to see even more folks coming out, because those are the people who maybe have slightly higher income, but still need help making sure that they have food on the table as housing costs get higher, as utilities get higher, it gets more expensive to heat your home. And that's one of the things. Have you noticed a trend of just more folks coming and using Ginny's services?
We have. Our numbers have been going up. There have been, you know, slight increases every single month. We're well over 1,000 or 1,100 individuals, because we count by head.
1,000 to 1,100 individuals a month use Ginny's. That's
that
astounding.
Are counted in terms of the number of people that we feed. So that isn't necessarily, that could be a mom with 2 or 3 kids at home.
Absolutely, but that's
a lot of people. It's over 1,000
for a city of 40,000 people, and that's about what we think kind of that's closing in on the food insecure population. And my worry is, how do we get the word out for folks to know, if you need help with food, come and take advantage of these resources.
Absolutely. Come in. One thing that I like to tell people, because I don't think a lot of people know this, about a quarter of the people that come in are employed. You know, a lot of people are, you know, they're on Social Security. We have elderly people, we have unemployed people, but, you know, fully 25% of the people that come in have jobs.
I think one thing that we talk about when it comes to this often is that kind of sense of pride that kind of gets in the way of walking through that door. But I try to stress to people, don't be afraid. That's what we're there for. We're there to help the community. And, you know, we have the organization set up in a way so it's pretty private when you come in, you know, and you're not there for long, you're in and out, so please come in if you need the help.
Right, and come in and just look around. I don't know, some people, they come in and they're really surprised. They're surprised at how big the space is.
I am. Every time I go, I'm like, I think it's bigger.
Well, it's huge, and we have great stuff to sell. People should come in and shop. You know, people come in for the food pantry. We encourage people to come in for the food pantry, but we also want people to encourage people to come in and shop, because I think we have great stuff. We have really good
you're
stuff.
ahead of the recycling, reusing, reducing before it was even trendy, right? Like you're helping our community make sure this stuff isn't ending up in our landfills, in our trash. And I think that that's a really important thing. And even to know that the fabric, the clothing that's coming through that maybe isn't able to go on the floor and be sold, like that's still going and being reused through the Planet Aid boxes.
It is,
I think
absolutely.
that's huge.
Definitely.
It is.
So how do people, is there a deadline to get on the list to get a holiday box?
So we're asking that people, come in before, like the week before, just so we can have an idea of how many
Sure.
baskets we've made. We've set up times every Saturday preceding the 23rd, which is the day of November, which is the day we're going to be handing them out, so that we have some volunteers coming in to help us make the baskets. So it's just so we can get an idea of how many baskets we're going to need to make. With that being said, we're not going to turn anybody away. So
Sure.
if we have the turkey to hand out, we're going to give it to somebody.
Right. Come in sooner rather than later. It just helps us plan because it's a big project, putting the baskets together.
Well, I've seen the picture of like the baskets
All lined
across
up.
the entire floor.
Yep.
Because you got to make sure that everyone gets all of the food and resources that they need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there, so beyond the holiday season, what are your other big times of year? Do you have any other big events that you want to plug for people to just keep in the back of their mind?
We really don't. I mean, the Johnny Appleseed Festival is a big deal for us.
Yeah.
We have our table and we're all set up downtown, and that's really an opportunity to connect with people throughout the community that don't know us. And we had a lot of traffic at this year's Johnny Appleseed Festival. We had some really cool clothing that we sold. We had a little game for kids. So the Johnny Appleseed Festival is something. And then we're really busy. We're primarily busy during the holiday season, but we do want people to understand that our numbers don't change.
Right.
People are hungry 12 months of the year.
Right.
I think the hardest conversation I've had is with our superintendent, Paula Deacon, about school closures and in her new role of having to make the call on whether or not to close the school, that so many of our students are relying on those meals.
That's right.
At school.
They are.
And are really worried if there's a closure on a Friday or a Monday, could that mean that these kids aren't getting adequate meals? And we're in Massachusetts, like we are a wealthy state. The idea that folks have to be worried about can they put food on the table. I'm so thankful that you guys are there making sure that that need is met. And it's really important that people reach out and connect with Ginny's, especially if you have that need, if you know someone who has that need. And you guys have been unbelievably helpful to us as a state representative's office when we are helping folks get rehoused after being homeless.
Right.
And getting just some basic furniture.
Absolutely.
I will say we are a full service state rep's office where Isabel's first job understanding kind of just how intensive this could be was me and Taylor carrying a mini fridge up 4 flights of stairs to help someone.
boy.
So thank you for hooking us up with the mini fridge. We were happy to deliver it.
Great.
But it's those little bits of things that you don't realize could help complete someone's home and make them feel safe, and is so important when someone has come from being homeless and not having access to that little tiny thing could really complete them and help them thrive.
That's so true, Natalie. We work very, very closely with the Leominster Police Department. We work with Janessa McQuaid. We work with Leslie Borges. We work with the Spanish Center. We get referrals from all over the place. One of the pictures that I carry around on my phone, every time I look at it, I get very emotional. But there was a friend of mine who brought in a friend of hers who had just relocated here and had 2 little kids. And they were looking for beds, and we didn't have any beds. But another local woman who I know very well, Stephanie Beauregard, had dropped off some beautiful sleeping bags that were in those, like the dry freezer bags. What do you call that when they squeeze all the air out of it?
Yeah, the vacuum bag.
The vacuum bags, thank you. I couldn't remember that. They were freshly laundered in those bags, and they were these beautiful sleeping bags. We fixed the lady up with the 2 sleeping bags. We had pillows and other kinds of things, and she sent a picture later that day of the 2 little kids snuggled in the sleeping bags. I mean, that was just, and they were so happy and so thrilled. And I thought, you know what, that made a big, big difference. So you're right. We get referrals for all kinds of the things that aren't necessarily just food. And we do our best to, if we don't have it, we can find it.
And speaking of that collaboration, Ginny's has been unbelievably helpful to the Office of Emergency Management as they're getting this warming shelter off the ground last year. Not only did you guys volunteer your time to be there and staff it, but also just hooking up the folks who are seeking shelter with food and making sure that I think the Office of Emergency Management was really committed to making sure that there was like a warm meal. It wasn't like, it's great when you can bring in pizza.
Right.
But being
real
able
food.
to make real food is really important. And for folks who haven't heard about Leominster opening up a warming shelter, it's kind of, depending on the temperature, depending on the weather, Office of Emergency Management will open it, and about a dozen people used it last year, kind of throughout the season. And really important, and they need volunteers. They're asking for folks to take 4-hour shifts. You can connect through Janessa McQuaid at the Leominster Police Department. You can call the Office of Emergency Management over on Carter Street. But they really need folks when it's getting cold and the weather is just too tough. We got to make sure that there's somewhere warm for everyone in Leominster to be. And I'm so thankful for the support that you have. You've hooked people up with like the toiletry bags. Just
absolutely.
putting those together are really important. So there's so many different ways that people can volunteer with Ginny's. And you've also hosted some Leominster Center for Excellence students, I know. Can you talk a little bit about those projects?
Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. So for those of you who don't necessarily know what the Leominster Center for Excellence does, it's a big picture school, and they work with students, getting them internships in the community. And we've hosted, I would say, probably a dozen students at this point, where they come in and they work in the food pantry with the organization and kind of get the experience of what working for a nonprofit is like. And I always hear from these students about how beneficial that what we were able to provide for them has been. They get to see firsthand what working in the food pantry is like, helping clients, that kind of stuff.
And I was just at an event with Warmer Winters that does kind of similar work, knitting and providing warm things. And one of the board members made the point to say, like, no matter what skill you have, there's something that you can give. And I'm wondering, you're a nonprofit, you have a board. Are there any particular skills that you're looking for in terms of volunteers who might want to get involved with the nonprofit management side of it?
Well, any and all skills. I mean, finance people are, always very, very useful. We have a wonderful local accountant, and we have a volunteer bookkeeper, Jim Chambers, who does all of our books every single month, does all of our reconciliations, does all of our financial statements, and he volunteers.
Having been a nonprofit director, it's really awesome.
It is. It's a big, absolutely. No, he's very professional. He volunteers, and it's very important because he's a completely outside person. He's completely independent, and so we have quality financial statements. But any kind of skill, somebody who's bilingual would be helpful, just to be in there on a day-to-day basis. One of our staff people is bilingual, and a lot of our population is as well, so that's a big help. But you're absolutely right, any and all kinds of skills. One thing I just want to circle back to, Natalie, before I forget, is that Ginny White always said, Leominster is a city of angels. And we do a lot of work, but we could not do it if we didn't have the support of people in the community.
So true.
If we didn't have the support of local businesses. We just finished paying off our auto loan for the new truck that we have, our beautiful big white truck. Well, that was a Rollstone Bank. They supported that truck. They bought that truck for us over the course of 3 years. So that truck, that is a very important thing. That's our lifeblood to get back and forth.
To be able to get those thousands of pounds of food back from the Worcester County Food Bank.
So we have got terrific business partners. Obviously, we have, people like you, our elected officials who are very, very supportive. But the local businesses, individuals, countless individuals, who support the work that we do, we could not do that. We couldn't do anywhere near what we're doing without people in the community helping.
Yeah, I think for so many folks, it's hard to believe the number of community members who are struggling with hunger. And for me, we have been working, especially with our seniors, because we have something called the SNAP gap. So folks who qualify for Medicaid or Medicare, Mass Health, who aren't also enrolled in SNAP, in Supplemental Nutritional Assistance, food stamps. And we're working on a legislative fix that would basically, once you submit an application to Mass Health, it kicks the application over to SNAP, which is great, in the DTA, which is great because it's technology. You're submitting the same financial documents. There's no reason you should have to go through multiple hurdles when they're all different. They're state agencies. They're different agencies, but they should be able to share data. But the SNAP gap for this region is 50%. 50% of the folks who are eligible for SNAP benefits aren't taking advantage of them. And so we're trying to really kind of reduce the stigma and raise outreach and help sign up as many folks as possible.
I think it's great that you brought this up because now, starting I think as early as next week, we're going to be partnering with the Worcester County Food Bank. They've taken some interns on to work on SNAP outreach, so we are going to have some scheduled days where we'll have somebody in Ginny's helping clients who do qualify for SNAP actually get signed up and get enrolled in the program.
And we'll be advertising that too on Facebook, letting people know that they can come into Ginny's and go through that process with a representative from the Worcester County Food Bank.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for that.
Yep.
Yeah, and I just want to do another plug. The biggest thing that we've been able to get folks to sign up for SNAP who are maybe hesitant or maybe only qualify for that minimum, like $10 or $15 a month, was the Healthy Incentives Program. And so that is a great partnership between the state, partnering with local farmers to make sure that farmers markets are taking SNAP benefits. And in addition to your SNAP benefits, you get $40 to use at a local farmers market to use on local produce. And that is a huge, and that's on top of whatever SNAP benefit you're getting. So if you want to learn more about it, reach out to our office, reach out to Ginny's. We're happy to help you get signed up for SNAP because it's really important that you get this food assistance because you got other needs. So make sure, I always tell people like, oh, if it's only $15, so that $15 can go to something else.
Right.
Like if it's your prescription costs or travel,
Your
like
heating bill.
your gas,
Right.
like any of those things.
Right.
And speaking of that, if anyone needs heating assistance, this is the time of year that folks are starting to apply, and let us know because we can hook you up with the farm workers who do the low-income heating assistance, LIHEAP. So please reach out to us. Don't wait, because often we hear from folks really late and they say, I didn't want to bother you. That's my job. Please bother me. So, and just sticking with one more thing that I want to plug before we wrap up is October 19th, so today's the 10th, so in 9 days, we have our 3rd annual low-cost vaccine and microchip clinic with Second Chance Animal Services. It's something we host in the fall with Office of Emergency Management. You've got a flyer right there. $5 rabies vaccines, $5 distemper parvo vaccines. I know folks say that this is way cheaper than they can ever get it. So you just got to be there from 10 to 12. If you get in line, they'll take you. It's cash only. And if you have more questions, check out my social media website. You'll be seeing it more and more around. But please join us. It's a really great day. And if your pets are on kind of the spring cycle for their vaccinations, Fitchburg hosts it in the spring. So we try to work together to make sure that the Twin Cities are covered. So please reach out. We're so thankful for Second Chance Animal Services for donating their time and their supplies to be able to provide this service. And often we have, if you need a spay or neuter program, we have resources so you can hook up with that. And we have Sophie's Mission comes out and connects with families who maybe need some help with the pet food the mobile pet food pantry, which is a resource that I think a lot of folks don't know that we have in Leominster. Like, you should never be forced to separate from your pets because you're going through a financial hardship. We have so many great resources between Ginny's, Sophie's Mission to make sure that you have the resources you need and that you and your pets can be fed and healthy. So I just want to thank, do you have something else?
We have pet food.
Oh, good.
We do.
Thanks to Sophie's Mission.
We have pet food, so people, they need to feed their animals. They need to feed their pets.
To have that together.
Absolutely, we do. We have pet food, and I just want to the audience, if you know anybody who is hungry or needs assistance, send them in. And we don't want to have any kind of stigma. We want people to come in and use our food pantry. That's what we're there for.
Yeah. Sue, Brandon, thank you so much for coming and sharing.
Thank you for having us.
Some insight about Ginny's and how folks can get involved. And thank you so much for tuning into the October episode, and we'll see you next month.